I want you to think for a second. What does it mean to you to be an Epicurean? Listen to the word, Epicurean. Our imagination immediately conjures up images. Roman feasts with grape clusters, silk robes, fountains of wine, modern gourmets savoring oysters with champagne. People who live by the principle seize the day and take everything from life. And now, I want to tell you a story. The man whose name defines this entire culture of pleasure. His name was Epicurus. And here's how he actually lived. His usual meal consisted of bread and plain water, sometimes a piece of cheese. On holidays, he lived in a modest house with a garden on the outskirts of Athens. And he told his students, "Send me a pot of cheese, so that I may feast whenever I wish." Doesn't that create a cognitive dissonance? The man whose name became synonymous with luxury and excess was actually the embodiment of simplicity and moderation. So what's the deal? Maybe we've fundamentally misunderstood something. Today we will take a 2,300-year journey to solve this riddle, and I promise you, what we discover may forever change your understanding of happiness, success, and how one should live in our crazy, overloaded, anxious world. The true goal, ataraxia. The calm lake. Imagine that our soul is the surface of a lake. In ordinary life, this lake is constantly agitated. The wind of fears drives waves across it. Stones of anxious thoughts create ripples on the water. Desires, like sudden downpours, disturb its smoothness. And now imagine an absolutely calm lake, a surface so even, so mirror-like, that it reflects the stars. Not a breath of wind, not a ripple, only deep, silent, perfect clarity. That is what the Epicurean ideal actually is. The Greeks called this state ataraxia. Im-perturb-a-bil-i-ti. It is not euphoria, not delight, not ecstasy. All those bright states are transient. Ataraxia is not a peak experience. It is the foundation. It is the basic state of your being when you are free from mental noise, from tormenting doubts, from gnawing fears. Epicurus was, if you will, the first great psychotherapist. 2,300 years before Freud and cognitive behavioral therapy. He understood the main source of human suffering is not external circumstances, but our beliefs, our false ideas about what happiness is, what to fear, and what our soul truly wants. The remedy, the 4-part cure. Tetrapharmakos. Epicurus left us an amazing document. The 4-part cure, the Tetrapharmakos. These are not just philosophical theses. This is a recipe, a spiritual antibiotic that cures the most chronic diseases of the human soul. Let's open this ancient vial and examine each component. First, don't fear the gods. Looks at the viewer with understanding how much of your inner anxiety stems from some vague, unconscious fear from above, that you will be punished for a mistake, that you are not good enough in the eyes of some higher authority. Epicurus offers a radical liberation. He says, imagine the gods as perfect, blissful beings. Can you imagine that a perfect, blissful being would spend its time being angry with you, plotting against you, watching your every move? It's absurd. The gods, if they exist, abide in a state of eternal ataraxia. And we should imitate them in this, not crawl before them in fear. You are taking a giant burden of guilt and inadequacy off your shoulders. Second, don't fear death. This is perhaps the most brilliant and the most difficult thesis to accept. We all carry within us this primal, animal fear of non-existence. It poisons our lives, makes us cling to illusions, commit absurd acts. And here is what Epicurus says: accustom yourself to believe that death is nothing to us. For all good and evil lie in sensation, and death is the deprivation of sensation. So death, the most terrifying of evils, is nothing to us, since so long as we exist, death is not present with us, and when death comes, then we no longer exist. As long as you are alive, death is not here. When death has come, you are no longer here. You will never meet it face to face. It's like being afraid of what was before your birth. You aren't afraid of the time when you didn't exist, are you? So why fear the time when you will not exist again? This fear is an illusion of the mind. And when you truly understand this, something amazing happens. Life, this very one, the only one, becomes incredibly valuable, bright, real. You stop postponing it for later. Third, what is good is easy to get. We are taught from childhood the idea of scarcity. Nothing in life comes easy. You have to fight for everything. And we believe it. We chase after complex, expensive, inaccessible goods, thinking that the secret to happiness lies precisely in them. Epicurus laughs at this. The most important goods, those needed for happiness, lie at our feet. The air we breathe, the water that quenches our thirst, simple food that satisfies hunger, a roof over our heads, friendly companionship, the opportunity to admire a sunset. This is limitless and accessible. We only need to switch the focus of our attention from distant, phantom goals to the close, real gifts of life. Fourth, what is terrible is easy to endure. Our psyche is such that we tend to catastrophize. We fear pain, illness, failure. We inflate them in our imagination to monstrous proportions. Epicurus offers a sober, almost medical view. Severe pain is usually short-lived. Either it passes, or, well, you know. Chronic pain is generally tolerable, and the most severe sufferings, moral ones, are generated by our own errors of thinking, by those very fears and false desires we are already learning to rid ourselves of. A strong spirit, cultivated by philosophy, can endure a great deal. The tool, the 3 shelves of desire, are now the most practical tool. Imagine your mind is a closet, and it's crammed full with all sorts of desires. Some are hanging on hangers, others are lying on the floor, and still others fall out when you open the door. Epicurus suggests we conduct a total audit. He divides all desires into 3 shelves. Shelf 1. Natural and necessary. This is the basic kit for survival and peace of mind. Food, water, sleep, shelter, security. Satisfying them is simple and cheap. Hungry, ate. Cold, dressed. This is the basis, the foundation of ataraxia. You can't do without this. Shelf 2. Natural but not necessary. This is where the territory begins, where one can and should be vigilant. These are desires that stem from our nature, but their non-fulfillment does not cause real suffering. Tasty food instead of plain. Sexual pleasure. Beautiful clothes. These are the spices of life. They can enhance pleasure. But the danger is that they have a tendency to subtly migrate to the first shelf. Yesterday you could eat plain bread and be happy. Today you can't do without truffle sauce. And now you are not enjoying, but serving your desire. The wisdom is to use these spices, but always remember that they are just spices, not the main course. Shelf 3. Unnatural and unnecessary. Or, as I call them, the hell shelf. Here Epicurus mercilessly dumps everything imposed on us from the outside. Thirst for fame, power, wealth, status symbols, universal recognition, likes on social media. This is a black hole that will never be satiated. These are bottomless desires. The more you serve them, the more they demand. They are the main suppliers of anxieties, disappointments, and mental anguish. And the only correct strategy for dealing with this shelf is to throw it in the trash, completely, to cleanse your mind of this garbage. The choice, the waterfall or the lake. Epicurus was a subtle connoisseur of pleasures. He distinguished between 2 types, and his choice might surprise you. Imagine 2 sources of enjoyment. The first is a turbulent, noisy waterfall. It's impressive, it takes your breath away, it's powerful and bright. These are kinetic pleasures, pleasures of motion, of an active process, eating a gourmet dish, sexual passion, intoxication, thrill. Now imagine another source, a deep, calm, crystal clear mountain lake. There is no turbulence, no splashes, only a deep, bottomless, mirror-like surface. These are katastematic pleasures, pleasures of a state of rest, the feeling of satiety after a simple meal, the sensation of safety in your home, a deep, trusting conversation with a friend, the feeling of satisfaction from a job well done, the quiet joy of seeing a beautiful landscape. So, the paradox is that the ordinary person strives for the waterfall, while the sage for the lake, because the waterfall is beautiful, but it is exhausting. It ends, it's followed by a come down, and the lake is eternal. It is the very essence of peace. Ataraxia is precisely the state of this serene lake. Epicurus teaches us to cultivate precisely cotystematic pleasures, to build our life not on rare but bright flashes, but on a steady, stable, deep feeling of satisfaction and peace, the greatest treasure, friendship. And finally, we come to the very heart of Epicurean wisdom, to what Epicurus placed above all riches, above all pleasures, to friendship. His school was called the garden. It wasn't a university in our understanding. It was a community of friends, men and women, which was unheard of at the time, who lived together, held conversations, supported each other. Why is friendship so important? Because in a world full of uncertainty, a reliable friend is our strongest support. This is a person with whom you can be yourself, without wearing masks, who will share both joy and sorrow with you, who will tell you the bitter truth when it's needed, who will simply be there. All the threads of Epicurean wisdom converge in friendship. It is both a natural desire, and the greatest cotystematic pleasure, and reliable protection from life's storms. By investing in friendship, you are investing in your long-term peace of mind. It is the most sensible investment of all possible. Your turn. A week in the garden, and now we have reached the most important part. The moment when ancient wisdom must touch your life. Without this, our conversation will remain just an intellectual exercise. Therefore, I want to propose a small, but very profound experiment. For 1 week, become a gardener of your own life for 7 days. Take any recent choice of yours, a purchase, a decision on how to spend an evening, a striving for some goal, and ask yourself the 3 questions of the Epicurean gardener. What seeds of desire sprouted in this decision? Were they from the first, second, or, heaven forbid, the third category? What harvest of pleasure did I hope to reap? A bright but fleeting waterfall, or a calm, deep lake? Did this bring me closer to the state of a peaceful, flourishing garden, to ataraxia? Or, on the contrary, did it clutter my garden with the weeds of new anxieties and worries? And I would be immensely grateful if you share your discoveries in the comments. Let's create a unique space here, a virtual garden, where we can honestly and without judgment share our findings. What one weed of vain desire did you discover in your garden? What simple, natural pleasure did you not notice before? Your experience could become that very ray of sunshine that helps someone else see the flowers in their own garden. Conclusion. The quiet whisper of wisdom in the final analysis. Epicureanism is a philosophy of deep, radical sobriety of mind. It is the art of distinguishing real water from mirages in the desert. In a world that screams at us, more, faster, brighter, more expensive, Epicurus whispers in our ear the only important secret: quieter, simpler, deeper. He teaches us not to run from pleasures, but to choose them with the wisdom of an experienced gardener, who knows which plants will yield good fruits and which will poison the soil. Happiness is not a complex puzzle to be solved. It is not a mountain peak to be climbed. It is a state of soul that flows from the absence of suffering, from intelligent self-restraint, from deep, sincere relationships, from liberation from fears. It is in a cup of warm tea, drunk in the silence of the morning, in the support of a friend who understood you without words, in the feeling of light fatigue after a completed task, in the ability to rejoice in the sun, simply because it is there. Build your own garden. Cultivate it every day. And one day, you will be surprised to find that you possess a wealth, before which all the treasures of the world pale, the wealth of peace of mind. If this journey to the garden of Epicurus resonated with you, and you want to continue exploring the most practical philosophical systems for a meaningful modern life together, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell, so you don't miss new meetings. Ahead of us are the Stoics, the Skeptics, the Taoists, and many other guides who will help us find support in the rapid flow of life. Thank you for being here today. Remember, the most refined pleasure is the quiet peace in your own soul. I wish you to find it. Until we meet again on the air.